Assalamu alaikum, everybody. If I can please have everybody's attention, we will be starting in just a few seconds. So everybody, please take a seat, and we'll just get started in just a few seconds. Thanks. Assalamu alaikum again. If I can please have the candidates come forward and have their seats, please. I would like the Amir candidates to sit on the left side, and then the others can sit wherever they want. It's not working? Is this one better? If the two sister candidates are in the masjid, please come forward. Do we know if the two sister candidates are here in the building, in the masjid? Okay. Assalamu alaikum. We'll inshallah get started. And before I ask the candidates to come forward and introduce themselves and start the program, there are a few things that I wanted to go over as far as the elections are concerned. It's very important that we all adhere to the rules that these guys are adhering to. It is very important that we also make sure that we follow those rules. So I've got that document pulled up. What we're trying to do is that we don't want to see any negativity throughout the election process. And if we hear anything negative, whether it's by an individual or a certain group of people, my intention would be to disqualify them from voting, because we want to make sure that everybody follows the rules. And if you want to campaign for somebody, you can, because you can only vote for 8 out of the 16 Shura candidates. Only 8 will be elected, and then 2 out of the Amir candidates. Only 1 will be elected. So, of course, somebody will not be in the board next year out of these 18 candidates. So only 9 will be there. The other 9 will not be there. That doesn't mean that you do negative campaigning for anybody that you don't like or you don't prefer. So that's rule number 1. And please do not have any campaign going on in the masjid vicinity, within the masjid walls or immediately outside the masjid walls. It's very important that you keep those activities outside of the masjid, and we adhere to those policies as well. Criticism of election process. If you have any questions or you have any concerns, please send us an email at icfelections.friscomasjid.org, and we will try to make sure that we address your concerns as soon as possible, as quickly as possible, because the election time is coming up. So with that said, we have discussed with these candidates, we are going to allow them 3 minutes to the Amir candidates to introduce themselves to the community, and 2 minutes to the Shura member candidates. Once their introduction is over, we will hand over we will have all of you participate in asking any questions that you may want to ask them. So without any further delay, I would like to, let me go ahead and introduce my team also, please. We are missing one person, one sister today. She's been helping us throughout this process. But my name is Jamil Ahmed. I'm the election commissioner. And to my left, this brother is Brother Asim Zaman. He's been involved with the Frisco Masjid for, I don't know for how many years. I don't think that I can even count the number of years that he's been engaged in various volunteer activities. Rahim Amir, he is another member of the community. He came forward and he is volunteering and helping us out with the election process. Brother Imad Shamim, he is also one of the election commission members. So we have a total of 5 members. One sister is missing today. And then I've also asked some community members to help me out during the election days. And they are not here today, but not yet. Can they hear me?
They can, but I want you to be hands-free.
Okay, it wasn't working. So now I will give the mic over to the first Amir candidate. As they are sitting, I guess they can come and introduce themselves. The first person is Brother Saad Riazuddin.
Assalamu alaikum. I once heard in a khutbah where someone complained to the khatib that the kids in the back are making noise. The khatib responded and said, let them make noise. Because today, they're making noise. Tomorrow, they'll be praying here. And one day, they'll be leading this community. Brothers and sisters, my name is Saad Riazuddin, and I may have been one of those kids that made noise here. But today, I stand in front of you as a candidate of Amir, ready to lead this community. A little bit about myself. I moved here in 2011, and I was born and raised in New York. In 2011, alhamdulillah, I was able to start the ICF Youth. Thereafter, I served as its youth director, and shortly after, I was elected into the first ICF Shura. Today, alhamdulillah, I serve within the ICF Shura, being my second term. Alhamdulillah, throughout all my years in serving this community, I was able to serve in a variety of different capacities, in different committees such as the youth, interfaith, events, sisters, Sunday schools, your internal communications such as the emails and newsletters you guys received today, newcomers, new Muslims, just to name a few. And just recently, alhamdulillah, I was able to start with the help of Allah, the initiation of Safwa, which is the ICF Youth Seminary, which currently serves almost 70 students. In the 8 years that I was part of this community, not only did I see this masjid grow from its small roots into the grand center you see around us today, but the community nurtured me, and it molded me into who I am today. And this is what drives me to run for Amir, as I owe an everlasting debt to this community, my sanctuary and where my heart belongs. A little bit about my vision and my goals. Inshallah, I'd like to model this community around the model of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's mosque. I'd like to create new and innovative ways to continue the funding of the development of phase 2 of this masjid. Create a systematic means to integrate our newcomers and new Muslims in this community. Engage our youth, trust them so they become leaders of tomorrow. Provide mental health support for individual needs and by seeking out professional experts to ensure that there is accountability in leadership for people in leadership like myself, to work alongside our scholars, to trust them so we can continue our educational, our intellectual, and spiritual growth in this community. Brothers and sisters, this masjid raised me to be who I am today. And inshallah, with the help of Allah, I'd like to help raise this community where it needs to be. Jazakallah khairan.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kashif Khan. I've been part of this community since 2007, ever since we were in that little space on Main Street. I have seen it grow much the same way as Saad has and some of the other community members who were there, part and parcel of our growth, mashallah. So, have been a part of Frisco Masjid Shura in the past and have been part and been part of multiple organizations essentially and represented Islamic Center of Frisco with Collin County Masajids and also assisted in multiple leadership roles while I was in the Shura to help with the Zakat committee, help with the fundraiser, to help with the Fairview Cemetery as well, when we were making sure that it comes into being and all 5 masajids met to continue to work toward that goal as well. I want to make sure that all the team members who are here who have put themselves forward are the ones who are absolutely and positively the first one to be putting themselves forward. None of the older team members are returning. So I just want to say kudos to all of them who have come forward, step forward to take on the responsibility of leading the community and this masjid for bigger and better goals, right? I want to also make sure that you understand it is essentially a disclaimer to make sure that I completely and positively appreciate what the current Shura has done for the last 2 years and the Shura has passed with the vision that they provided and of course the goals that they had for each time, every 2-year period. So I'm very appreciative of every single one of them. But I want to make sure that I make a forward-looking statement for the masjid to make sure that the new 8 members are absolutely and positively bringing a balance between deen and also the dunya as well. Deen is extremely important for our youth, for ourselves, and everybody else. I completely get that, and I respect that because that's the way my parents raised me. But I want to make sure that our youth are also being developed and coached into dunya stuff as well, whether it's work-related, high school, college, engagement into the stuff that's going to make them successful in all walks of life, including the deen as well. So I have been part of this for 12 years, passively and actively led many groups and thought processes, served in the Shura for 2 years. How much time? 5 seconds? Okay, it's all good. So no, I have been part and parcel of it. I've been the part of community for 12 years now and have seen it grow from small to this space. And alhamdulillah, I'm here putting myself in front of you to help lead the next 2 years. Thank you.
Jazakallah. This was Brother Kashif Khan. I forgot to introduce him. What I am going to do is I'll have the sisters come first, if you guys are okay with that. And I would like Sister Maryam Bartla to come and introduce herself. Sister Maryam Bartla.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Maryam Batla, and I am running to become a Shura member of this beautiful masjid. I am currently a senior at Lone Star High School, and I have been a member of the city of Frisco since 2015. As the first female youth to run for Shura, I hope to be making an impact and setting an example for my fellow sisters. I hope that my actions show the youth that we are also capable of holding leadership positions, being proactive, and making a difference in our community. I am an active volunteer at the Islamic Center of Frisco and have been part of countless community events. I have been part of the ICF Ramadan iftars and suhoors. I've also been part of fall festivals and Eid carnivals throughout the years. I have also volunteered at mandatory street cleanups. 2 years ago, I was blessed to become a part of the ICF Sunday School, and I am a volunteer for their special needs program, the Muhsin program, and I'm very passionate in serving that. I also manage the masjid's social media accounts through Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. I'm running for this position would not only be a wonderful opportunity, but also an honor. I envision the future of ICF as becoming more environmentally friendly and a place that has the ability to attract people of all ages and backgrounds. Every action I perform is for the sake of Allah. Thank you all for coming. May Allah bless the Islamic Center of Frisco.
Jazakallah. Now, I would like to request Sister Rafia Shajat to come forward, please. Sister Rafia Shajat.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. So, as my name is already announced, my name is Rafia Shujat, and I'm running for the ICF board member position, particularly in education. Oh, sorry. I can hold it in hand. Particularly in the education part. So presently, I'm a Dallas chapter lead for an organization, Mohsin, where Muslims are working and volunteering with the individuals and providing them education needs who are in special needs and disabilities within the Islamic institutions all over the USA. I have served as a teacher for the individuals for special needs for 1 year, and I have been at the district committee's school board for 6 years as a chairperson. For the past 1.5 years, I have been with Sister Sabah and her team at the ICF Sunday School providing the education for special needs as a Mohsin school program. I'm by education, my bachelor's is computer sciences, and I have been an instructor for UI UX at a Chicago masjid for 2 years before I moved to Dallas for ages 12 and above. Presently, I am doing my master's with Islamic studies, and as my previous educational endeavors that I have applied my education with the teenagers and their families, I want to put it use to the betterment and the growth of the community. This year, I have been awarded as a difference maker, recognized as a difference maker by the organization Mohsin, and I have been awarded a shield for that purpose. Being a part of ICF, a committed volunteer and a lead overall in Dallas, I am aware of the educational issues that our community is facing. Working in the educational sectors of various kinds has prepared me to represent you and your educational needs with equity and accessibility. There are numerous fellows here and overall the other parts of US who can vouch that whatever I have said here, I can back it up. Being a daughter of a professor and a sister to 2 teachers and 1 author, by the will of Allah, I can assure you that I understand how much your vote means to this position. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah. Now I will request Brother Jazeb Mir to please come forward. Brother Jazeb Mir.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, before I even start, I wanted to offer thanks to where it belongs first. So let's do a takbir, please. Allahu Akbar. Thinking back from the masala that we used to have to this masjid, mashallah is a blessing. Any way, shape or form you look at it. Wanted to thank everybody who's been part of that, the original first shura, all the way till current shura. And inshallah, everybody that's here to take the next step forward and inshallah grow this community and masjid going forward. A little bit about myself. I've been involved with masajids from my early childhood. MashaAllah, I come from a family that does that. In the United States, I started doing dawah work back in 1999 in New York. After a couple of years, I moved around. MashaAllah, I've been part of 5 or 6 masajids that actually went from being masallas to mid-level masajids to large institutions, things that we're going to be dealing with or we are dealing with today, not only just construction expansion, community growth, programs for youth, and then comes with challenges on the city and the state and all the legalities, right? So alhamdulillah, I have that background. My profile is online, so anybody can see it. I just want to talk about masjid and growth and my agenda, right? So, inshallah, if elected, I have very specific items that I'm going to be focused on. The first one of those is the enhancement of our culture and inclusiveness. So what I mean by that is, mashallah, I've been talking to quite a few Muslim families here for the past year and a half. And so there is some contentions there where people are hesitant to come to the masjid. So my first goal would be to bring them here, fill this up, and make one community, irrespective of our languages, regions, barriers, etc. The second thing is, mashallah, the growth of this masjid. The space is getting tighter. The kids are, mashallah, Sunday school is just full. So anything that's going on around growing, expanding this masjid, I would like to be part of that. I have a lot of background in expansion infrastructure, so I can help. The next thing is, inshallah, I want to focus on youth, and then I want to focus on community give back, like masjid offering different programs to the community, inshallah, healthcare, et cetera, et cetera. So ask questions, and we'll get into more, inshallah, in a little bit. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Next is Brother Imran Beg.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So first of all, with blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it's my pleasure to be standing in front of you as a Shura candidate. And why that is important for me, to me it's a very big honor to be serving for the community if I'm given a chance. Being a corporate leader within the Dallas Fort Worth area for the last 20 years and be part of the Frisco community for the last 8 years, I'm known for my commitment towards what I do, managing very large teams, delivering on very large projects, and ensuring the work that we commit to is done to the nth degree with the best quality and forward. Why that is important for me? Because when I look at the responsibility of a Shura member, I don't see it very differently. We are here committed towards the community to make sure that what we sign up for, we deliver to the nth degree of quality. What that means for me, if I name the first 5 top priorities, transparency is the number 1, because what I believe is when you're transparent, you're very honest, you're serving your community with a very open heart. And secondly, tied to the transparency is the communication. What I commit to, if you send us an email, if you reach out to us, I'll ensure that Shura gives you the best possible answer in the right amount of time and with the best intent of everyone. Third part is very important, is the growth. We are embarking on the next transformation journey, and that is very important that we continue to grow if it comes down to the outreach towards our fellow interfaith, towards the other community, towards within our circle, to the new Muslims, that is very important. We are going to continue to, inshallah, build our masjid and build our community. The last important thing is youth. Youth is our foundation, as Brother Saad, Brother Kashif, everyone else, you're going to continue to hear. Youth is where our investment continues to lie, and we're going to ensure that the programs, the investment, Sunday school, all of those are kept in front of us. So being part of the community for last year, I've served in the Sunday school. I've been part lightly in the, I would say, the activities around the masjid, but with grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm fully committed, if I'm selected, to bring my best foot forward and to serve the community in the best possible way. So inshallah, looking forward to your vote from that perspective. Thank you.
Jazakallah. Next is Brother Irfan. Arif. For some reason, Irfan was coming in my mind. Brother Arif Faizan, sorry.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Alhamdulillah, I've been living here since 2008 in Frisco. I had Allah's blessing to serve in the Frisco Masjid and the Plano Masjid, alhamdulillah, part of the finance team. And my goal would be to get the community involved, get more youth involvement, and make sure that we streamline our processes. So that would be my ultimate priority. Thank you.
Brother Atir Khalid.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So I'm going to do things a little differently. Instead of going through my bio and background and what my history is, I'm going to assume that everyone has already gone through my bio or will go through my bio in the next couple of weeks before the elections. But instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you guys through on how I would approach problems and issues if I become a Shura member. So first of all, yesterday when I was thinking about, hey, what are the top 3 issues that we need to tackle, I almost had to step back and correct myself because the last Shura has done a phenomenal job. There are no big issues that we need to tackle. Instead, the way we need to think about this is that the masjid is basically going into a next phase of maturity. So what does that mean? So if you think about a couple of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, the Shura that was in place, the agenda and the focus was, let's get this infrastructure up, let's get the building up. So when the next Shura came in, their focus was slightly different. They said, okay, the infrastructure is up, let us put together the processes and let us get some initial members in. But the focus that we would have getting into this next 3rd phase of maturity would be how do we grow this masjid? What does growing the masjid mean? Getting more members, right? So in my opinion, there's a laundry list of things that we would focus on, but growing the masjid through the growth of members is going to be one of the most important things that we would focus on. And there's a systematic, methodical way that we can approach that. So I'm not going to go into detail on how we would grow the masjid, but I would request that you guys ask those questions in the Q&A session, and would love to get into more detail around what are some of the creative ideas to do that. Thank you very much.
Brother Muhammad Yusuf. Muhammad Yusuf Usman.
Name's Usman, by the way, just so you guys know. Assalamu alaikum, Usman Yusuf. I've been a part of the Frisco community for about 10 years, depending on how you count it. I was here for the first couple of years in 2010 and then moved away and loved you guys so much that I moved back. But, with all of that said, right, I think with the community as it stands right now, my bio, you probably read it, and I hope you've read it. If you've not, please go back and read it, because you should elect good candidates. But in general, like Arthur said, one of the things we need to do as a community is how do we get more people in the masjid? If my math shows me correct, you guys are probably 100 people in the masjid right now, at best. That's 1,800 members off your list, which is about 5% of the entire community to elect who's going to run this masjid for the next 2 years. That is an awful representation. I think that's something that needs to be fixed. I think that improves, the way you fix it is get more engagement from the people. How you do that, please ask those questions. That's one thing I think we need to fix. I think our shuras have done a splendid job. They've done excellent work around here, and they've done a tireless job here. But there are things that not everyone can do, not everyone can get there, and the things that are on your agenda that are not on everyone else's agenda. And for me, if I'm here and I'm going to be here and I'm going to serve you, I think one thing we need to do absolutely is get more people to elect the right people on the masjid, not 100 people. Not that I don't like you guys, 100 people are awesome, right? But we need to have 500 here. We need to have a representation of 50% to select who's going to run the masjid. Run the masjid, which has a capital of 200K revenue or 200K in profits, is that correct? Last balance sheet, that's what I saw. I think that's what we need to fix. And inshallah, if you vote for me, I will do my best to fix it. No promises, but inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Next is Brother Arif Karim, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, I grew the beard after the picture, so that's the only picture I had. I do appreciate this opportunity. I've been in public service for 30 years. I moved here in 2010 from Virginia. 5 years in Plano Masjid, 5 years in Frisco. I saw it grow from the masala, and we moved into this new mosque. And in other places that I've lived in also, I've gone through many masalas into masajids. And I think the Shura here has done an excellent job. There are programs in place that we need to build on and also take it to the next level where we want to introduce new programs. And one of the phases the next phase that we're going to go through is going to be the construction phase. And that's a big leap for everyone here right now. That's a challenge we're going to have to work with. There are programs in place that are working, and we also need to introduce new programs for the youth, as they pointed out. Mainly, one of the most important things is working with the Shura as a team to see it's not just about one person. You have a leadership here. We're going to work as a team and come up with ideas to see how we can implement them, to make them a success. And so it's not a sort of a one-man show or anything. It's a collective effort. And I think we need to collectively think in terms of what's best for the community and kind of work towards doing that. So again, the youth programs, the other programs, the construction, these are all future plans that are in the works that we will be a part of. And I personally feel very privileged to be a part of that. And if Allah calls on us to do this work, we will inshallah do this, work with them. And also, the most important thing to keep in mind is that as somebody pointed out about accountability and transparency and communication, these are very important. And as a regular musalli, I think I know most of the people that come here on a regular basis. That's very important to me because if there's an issue, we will know it on a daily basis. And we want to address it, nip it in the bud, as they say, or address it immediately. So it's not put off or it's not deferred. So I do thank the opportunity. Thank you very much. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Before I ask the next person to come, I just want to inform everybody that there is one candidate that's not present here. He had to leave in an emergency to Pakistan. His mother got ill, so he is alongside his mother, and we wish speedy recovery for his mother. That brother's name is Sabdar Ali, so he is not here today, but he will be on the ballot papers. With that, Brother Khalil Hamza is the next candidate, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Khalil Hamza, and I moved to Frisco 2007. So I've been in the U.S. for 32 years. I started in Irving, and I was in the Shura body and the Shura Council in Irving. We started at a small house, and we moved to a shopping center, and then eventually bought the land. And you've probably seen the masjid on Esther's Boulevard. So alhamdulillah, I was one of the founders there. Then we moved to Richardson, and I worked on the Brighter Horizon Academy. It was a small house again. We established that school, and we grew it from 60 children to 280, and then we ran out of space and started looking for. So I have been in this environment for a few years, but I see that the Frisco Masjid, alhamdulillah, was progressed very fast. I think with much less obstacles that other centers had. But my idea of running is I want to have a masjid that is diversified, because the religion of Islam covers many societies, and we need to have everyone here. And I know that there's some people that feel that they don't show up, don't come, especially newcomers to Islam. We need to welcome them. So I feel like that's one of the criteria that I would focus on. Of course, the expansion is going to be a big project. I mean, it's a new load that the new shura will have to carry, and we cannot avoid it. I think we should expand some of the social services. Like right now, we have an elderly population. The fathers, mothers. Who brings them to the masjid? You're busy working. Who's taking care of them? We don't have a bus for the elderly. Again, that's, I think, should be a responsibility of the masjid to serve those elderly of the community. Again, there is a communication issue too that we have to work on, because the growth of Frisco is so substantial. It's very different than any other city. So how can you handle the growth? All those people that come to Frisco, they don't have the knowledge of the existence of our masjid. So we have to try to find a way to communicate, maybe have a welcome package to welcome them to the masjid. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah. Jazakallah. Next is Brother Mudassir Hassan.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Mudassir Hassan. I just want to start off by thanking all the candidates that are running for the Shura. See a lot of new faces, so I know it's a big step that they're stepping up to serve the community. For me, really, it's 3 key areas that I would focus on. So number one, which other people have talked about as well, is the way I define it is sustainable growth, right? I have been in Frisco since 2004, and so I remember we started with a small musalla, and we have this wonderful masjid today. And as we take on this next challenge, which I think we should, we just need to do it in a responsible manner so we don't overburden ourselves. So that's going to be the key issue. The second is, again, drive participation. Again, we need to build on the great work that the current Shura has done and take it to the next level, and reach out to the community and work in different areas. I don't want to get into specifics, but how we can drive more participation. And the third thing is willingness to make the time commitment. So alhamdulillah, my kids are grown. I don't travel as much for work, so I think I have the flexibility in my schedule to be able to devote time to this, because ultimately it's a big responsibility, and for all of us that are going to be on the next Shura, we need to make sure we allocate the right amount of time. With that, if I'm elected, I will serve humbly and to the best of my abilities. So thank you.
Jazakallah. Next is our brother Izzat Khan.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Izzat Khan. I've been a resident of Frisco for about 12 years. And professionally, I'm a CPA from PricewaterhouseCoopers, and I work as the president and CEO of a software development company. My vision in running for Shura is built on 3 points. The first one is that I should come to the masjid every day and provide a sweet and gentle and sugar-coated reminder to the community to do the same. No compromises. In a 24-hour, 1,660 minutes, we all owe it to come to the masjid at least once. Alhamdulillah, I gave Jummah khutbah in this masjid and 4 or 5 other masjids. So I put a lot of emphasis on the need of coming to the masjid for salah. My second objective is to have more programs for the sisters, especially a Hajj program for the girls, so that the sisters are exactly on par, if not more, than on the brothers' side. And the third is to have more programs for the youth, so that in community events, there's less emphasis on biryani and korma and more on pizza and Kit Kat. And I can't believe I finished before 2 minutes, so that's all.
Jazakallah. The next is Brother Jarjis Mirza.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad barik wa sallim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas ta'muruna bil ma'ruf wa tanhawna anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are best of the nations because you have been sent for the betterment of humanity. You enjoin good, you forbid bad, and you believe in Allah. There are three things. Enjoin good, forbid bad, and believe in Allah. My dear brothers, the Masjid Nabawi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was full of amal of da'wah. People invite people towards the greatness of Allah. Talk about the greatness of Allah. Talk about the akhirat. Talk about the everlasting life of akhirah. And teaching and learning. You see the teaching of Quran, teaching of ilm, so that our iman increases, we get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I become successful in my akhirah. You see, for this, we have to bring some programs. Alhamdulillah, a lot of programs. Our HIFZ program needs to be full-time HIFZ program, needs to be integrated with the secular school, so that our kids, our youth, they excel as huffaz, as scholars, as intellectuals, and they become successful in this world and hereafter. Wa akhiru da'wana, alhamdulillah.
Jazakallah. The next candidate is Brother Tamim Ansari.
Assalamu alaikum. So I think I'm the last candidate. So it's good and bad to be a last candidate. Before I start my intro, first of all, I want to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make me one of the candidates and to be here. And also thank some of the community members who encouraged me and motivated me to be running for the Shura. Jazakallah. And before I start my intro, I want to thank our fellow candidates and acknowledge them as they took their time and effort to be here. And if selected, they have to commit and they have to give up their family time to be serving in the Shura. So, Jazakallah. So, a little bit of my intro. My name is Tamim Ansari. Actually, I moved to Frisco 4 years ago, and I moved from Bay Area, California. And from the day one, I've been part of ICF. Most of you have seen me here volunteering in many of the activities in the masjid. And back in Bay Area, I have served multiple masjids and initiated and administered Islamic schools and part of the various committees in the masjid. MashaAllah, before I highlight or repeat many of the stuff our brothers and sisters shared with you, MashaAllah, there are so many thoughts and new ideas and strategies and vision statements, but to execute all of them, you need a support from the community, and you need to bring the community to the masjid, and you need to bring them together. So I want to finish my speech with three things. First one is work towards the community togetherness, open administration, and reachability, and fairness to everybody, and so that we can bring more people and more volunteers towards the masjid. And then second thing is, Alhamdulillah, our existing Shura have done an excellent job of introducing a lot of programs. So we have a lot of programs geared toward every individuals, but the reality is we have a poor attendance and participation. So my next thing is work towards community members, fix the gaps, so that our existing programs as well as the new programs to be introduced can be run successfully, and we call it as a success. And then third thing is obviously my favorite one is education, and work towards improving the existing infrastructure and education. Okay, now you all have, I'm done with all my three important tasks I highlighted. Now you are left with picking a right volunteer who is passionate and dedicated to serve you in the Shura board. I hope you'll do your job best. Jazakallah for having me here.
Jazakallah. Now we will open the floor for questions and answers. Before I do that, I would once again request everybody to please go through the rules and regulations document on the Frisco Masjid website under the elections tab. It's very important, and if you see somebody violating the rules and regulations, please bring it to the Election Commission's knowledge. It's very important that we have fair elections without any harassment or any negative criticism for any of the candidates here. It's very, very important for a healthy community. So please do send us an email if you see anything. icfelections@friscomasjid.org. It's very simple email address. With that, I will open the floor for questions and answers.
Assalamu alaikum. First question is for me. And the question is actually for both the emirs. So I would like both of you guys to answer that. The question is, as you know, this is a very important role. To run for the emir position, it requires a lot of commitment, a lot of time on your hands. You have to be involved in pretty much everything. And as you know, we are embarking on a very big project, which is the expansion, which again requires a lot of time, dedication, experience, and leadership skills. So the question is, can you give an example of how you have led in your life up till now to show your leadership skills? And how do you plan to execute? You talked about innovative ways. Can you expand on that? Jazakallah.
Just to clarify, are you speaking about construction specifically or just generally any leadership? Both, okay. For me, I think, alhamdulillah, I've served in different leadership qualities in the past. In my, not just the Muslim community, but in the non-Muslim community, I served as a lead in my corporate job, my previous job. But in terms of, being a leader, I think the first and foremost, you kind of have to learn how to be a follower. It's not just my show. I think I have to acknowledge that it's the shura, the community show. It's everyone's show. So inshallah, if I get elected into Amir, I would focus first and foremost in not just, saying things, but actually showing by action and listening to other people, following them, understanding them, acknowledging people. So for me, I think to be a leader and to, especially with the construction project, it's to respect the people that have put into work into this construction project, the people that have put into the work in this community, acknowledging them and learning from them, and then, inshallah, then leading from there. Jazakallah.
Great question, Rizwan Bhai, and thank you very much. Great answer. I've been a part and parcel of the hospitality industry for the last 35 years, and that's how long ago I came to the United States. Over the past 20 plus years, I've been in a multi-unit, multi-million-dollar portfolio management in hospitality industry in contract food services with up to 25 to 30 direct reports and some multi-unit managers reporting to me as well. In the business and industry and in leadership in general, I have worked on 4 Ps essentially when I run a business or any project that I run. And those 4 Ps are people, process, product, and last but not least, if you have the first 3 Ps right, the profit will follow. This is a nonprofit organization. I completely understand that. Last 15 years, I worked for nonprofits in retirement communities where it was important to make sure that we don't break the budget, right? And we have to deliver on the budget even at the nonprofit, because without the margin, you cannot have a mission. And it's really not me. So without the margin, you cannot have a mission. So I would have to make sure that the masjid has a positive margin line, right? So people, we have to make sure that we put the best people in place to make sure they lead the projects. People need to understand the community that is here. The Amir is a great title to have, but listen, I've been part of the Shura just like Saad has been. Amir is a thermostat or a rudder, right? That 8 team members, esteemed team members, are out there making the decisions. Your job is to inspire, remove the barriers, and ask the right questions, and make sure the best people are leading the charge in the best committees forward. And then make sure that the processes that the team members hear and they're talked about are being followed and adhered to. And then last but not least, as a leader, continue to remove the barriers to make sure that the processes that we have put in place are taking shape and delivering on our commitments with the making, with the right mindset that the product that we are offering is acceptable to the community by asking the right questions. So people, process, product, and then profit is extremely important as a leader in this organization as well. And as a leader, I have to inspire, remove the barriers, and ask the right questions, not only from our team members, but also from the community as well, in all humility, and be completely transparent in our answers. I hope that helps.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a very simple question for all the candidates, including the Amir candidates. Please honestly answer the question. Raise your hand if you read the ICF Constitution before coming here.
I have not.
So my first and foremost suggestion will be to all of you to read the Constitution, because that is what you're going to uphold, right? So please, if you have not read the Constitution, go home and read the Constitution and understand the responsibilities. Jazakallah khair.
So, Ijaz bhai, I will not be reading the Constitution as Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. I am the one who wrote that in the first place. Jazakallah.
That's awesome. I can hear. People can hear. It's fine. Yeah, we can hear. We can hear.
I can answer. I would love to answer.
Yellow.
Okay. All right. So if I understand your question correctly, is our first, I'm going to answer the second part of your question first. Is the membership list correct? The answer is a resounding no. There's 1,800 people on that list. There's 100 over here, which is essentially not representative. There's, in fact, we couldn't meet a quorum to select the imam of the masjid. So that is very clear. It is not correct. It has to be fixed, and fixed very immediately. How do you fix it? There are clearly ways and routes you could. You want to kind of take the middle ground and not be drastic where you trash it and start from scratch, which I don't think is a good opportunity for us, or it's probably not a good option for us. What is probably a better option is kind of figure out where we starting from who are the more engaging members, then going kind of expanding out a little further, and probably we've got county databases all over the place, which we can actually match against our list. So I think that's one way to figure out who's who and where they reside, and if they reside where they reside, or even if they're alive, we don't know. No one knows at this point. The second piece, how do you increase that membership? I think the biggest piece that you need to fix is, or rather not fix, or encourage is, there's two ways people come to the masjid, in my opinion. Who's coming to the masjid, what kind of speakers do you have in the masjid who will engage in the community, right? That's one way to get people in, first step, right? That's the first step, is a good step. And the second way is what kind of programs to the youth can you offer? Because if your kids come to the masjid, then hopefully, inshallah, you will come to the masjid as well. And you will encourage your wives and your children, or whatever it is, right, to come to the masjid. So I think those are two key steps we can take. And there's, I'm sure, better ideas out there, and be happy to hear everyone else's views as well.
All right. So I heard two questions when you asked, right? So first one is about the membership list, database, count of people, et cetera, right? Second one is what we want to do to grow that, right? Right. So first thing first, I actually have offered the current shura, which obviously is about to leave, right? So it goes to the next shura, inshallah, an organization that builds automation products that does this, data management, right? So we will, if new shura comes in, and whether I'm in it or not, we will still offer that to the new shura. We will have all automation in place. If they accept it, shura accepts it. And then so your process will go from being manual, financial, everything else into automation, right? So that's one solution. Every company does that, right? So that's one part. Second part is what, as shura members, we will do to increase the membership, right? That goes back to, it's one of the actually agenda items on my agenda of 6 items. And so there are two aspects of this. There are two ways to look at this. One is we want to increase the membership, right? One, to increase not only the members that come to masjid, also to increase the revenue the masjid gets, right? Masjid has operations and all that stuff that gets paid from that membership. Second part is what can we do in terms of growing that number, but yet providing some value back to the member. So the member says, okay, I'm paying X amount of hundreds of dollars to the masjid every year, and here is what I'm getting back from masjid. So one of the ideas that are actually I presented this idea back in 2010, back when we had the Masala. Mashallah, it didn't go anywhere, but another friend of mine who was from a masjid in Houston, they went and implemented it, and it's till date, it's being worked on and enhanced, and it's produced a lot of benefits. That is to provide, if you have a Sunday school, provide some leverage in terms of fees to that. 2 is healthcare. So Masjid as a nonprofit, I work for a very large nonprofit organization. So Masjid as a nonprofit entity has a very specific statute of legalities in the U.S. business system. So Masjid can actually offer, as part of the membership fees, healthcare to all of us, right? And then we just pay that back into Masjid and add a little premium on it. Now imagine if you have healthcare through your Masjid, and let's say, God forbid, somebody loses their job. Guess what? They're still covered by the Masjid. Just one thing. There is more, but inshallah, we can discuss more later on.
And just to spend a minute more on this topic, I think we have been addressing the quantitative part of the question, which is numbers, how I'm going to increase it. I think the qualitative part of it is equally important. Like, what are the factors that are stopping people from either signing up or not showing up? Or even this is a good example to, like, if the numbers were like 100 people showing up out of X number of people, that's a very low percentage. So I think we need to, as a shura member, very quickly understand what are those prevailing factors behind the scene. Is it the transparency? Again, I'm going back to my comments. Communication. Is it the fact that some of the decisions from the past are still affecting people? I think we need to build that bond and bridge very quickly and to establish that, guys, we are here together. We are going to work together. We are just part of the community. We come from you. We are not something different. And to build that transparency, I think will be a number one, what we call goal for the shura. And once we achieve that, I think people will start signing up instead of us trying to go after them. So I think we need to build that level of trust.
So I'll just quickly add on to that. So I'll take the question about how do we increase the membership, right? There can be many ideas, but I'll just share 2. So first of all, for a second, just look around and see what's the cultural representation around this room. And then think about what's the cultural representation of the Muslim community around the world, right? So there's definitely a disconnect. It can be one of 2 reasons that the city of Frisco or the Frisco ISD is 99% South Asian, but I don't think that is the case. So I think if we have a little bit of effort, a little bit of focus, we can try to figure out that are there pockets of cultural groups, Muslim cultural groups, that live in the city of Frisco that are not represented. Where are the Somali brothers? I'm sure that there are a bunch of Muslim Somali brothers in the city of Frisco, So first of all, that's the first step. You need to identify that how do you expand that beyond our cultural regions. So how do you do that? So in marketing, there's a term called trigger events. What a trigger event is that if you want to sell, let's just say, energy bars, you go to a marathon, right? So I think there's a similar approach there, that if we find out that there are 200 Somali families, for instance, in the city of Frisco, I'm sure there's a Somali National Day, right? So can somebody try to figure that out? That is there a Somali National Day convention going on in the city of Frisco, and can we find out like who the leader of that community is, and then reach out to them, and then invite them to the masjid, and thereby encourage them to come into the masjid. So I think there are creative ways of expanding beyond our friends and our circles, and if we just put our heads together, we can probably just make some good progress there.
Assalamu alaikum. I have a question for the sisters. Like, what kind of programs do you want to bring in this community, especially for the young sisters, school going and college going, and also stay-at-home moms and the working sisters? So do you have anything in your mind?
I like to answer the last question. I like to take us backwards. But may I answer the question that was asked before that, the membership question? So, brother, a great question for the membership, how to increase the membership. The bigger question is how to increase the number of the people who actually come to the masjid. So, a big membership, but few people in the masjid is like eating ice cream with no sugar, just blank. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, so the types of activities and programs I believe we will be hosting for the sisters are programs in which they can learn, obviously, ones that influence them intellectually and spiritually, but I also believe that we should have programs that are fun and that aren't necessarily always about learning, but also about, meeting one another and making new friends. And that goes for, the older women and the mothers, and also for the younger kids as well. And then for the mothers who are stay-at-home moms and those who have jobs and maybe not as much time on their hands, maybe working with them to set a time or day where they can come into the masjid, maybe on the weekends and not necessarily the weekdays, so that we have all of our sisters at the masjid.
Assalamu alaikum. So I'll start from the elderly ladies, and I guess in some point it also answers that why people would come and sign up as members. We don't have any kind of like many programs for the elderly ladies. Like they might come and meet up, but if we just organize some classes for them, or some outside trips of the masjid, when they become friends together and they find a group of their own age, because sometimes in families, at home, they don't get that time that they can spend with their own friends. And I have seen in my previous experience when we used to provide it for the elderly ladies, they had friends together. They became buddies with each other and they enjoyed spending time. They made potluck dinners and they used to come, invite each other, can come to the masjid and just eat off. Not everybody has to come to their parties, but they themselves. The second is the working moms. So once a week, like on weekends, we used to provide a paint and dinner or paint and tea kind of get together, and we used to paint together Islamic art or whatever, and then we used to spend time, that social time. So buddies bring other buddies from they know in the community, and they sign up and they know, oh, okay, this is the place where we can find good time. It's not only the educational part, the Islamic, the masjid should be a community center where everybody can find a second home to their own house. The other part is the youth, the young girls. So for the young girls, yes, I know, mashallah, we have started some new programs during the weekends, but during the weekdays, in the evenings, or my daughter is a teenager, so I know that if they're in the school, sometimes coming in the evening, it's not that helpful. But when summer comes, suddenly the kids are like, they're bored at the house, and how many times can you take them? So for that, we can have many different classes. There can be sports classes. We can bring in some coaches for them. Yoga classes for girls, badminton. I have done badminton for the girls. They enjoy that. Then self-safety, karate, kind of like, for girls, there can be the educational part, but intelligence and knowledge both connect to make education more powerful. So if they get to know many other things that they can use in living a more powerful, strengthful life, then why not start it from the masjid? Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. My question to Amirs is very important because I moved last year from Florida, and I'm looking for an ideal community. And I believe that Amir has a big part to manage this thing. I give you an example. 20 years ago, I was in Pennsylvania, King of Prussia, and there was a masjid. They bought land. They have money and everything, but there was a grouping, and they could not, one group did not allow, and the masjid was not built up for so many years. But one guy, one engineer from Dallas, he became the Amir, and within a year, he did not care for anybody, and he built the mosque, alhamdulillah. So my question to the Amirs are, okay, you are going to run this masjid your way or Islamic way?
I think to give you a simple answer, definitely in an Islamic way. To kind of, to add on to your comments about, the person that was able to build the masjid and he ran for Amir. Alhamdulillah, I think all of us, we all have a quality within us. And for some people, it's construction. For some people, it's, welcoming people. For some people, it can be education. So, inshallah, whether it's myself or Gashibai that gets into, becomes an Amir, or any of the Shura members that get in, I think that everyone has a quality within them. They just have to, they need to have that passion, and obviously they have to do it within the Islamic means, like you stated. And, inshallah, with the right intentions, anyone can be a leader. Anyone can have that passion and, use their qualities to, work for the community.
Thank you very much, Saad. So your question, albeit very, very good, is an incredibly closed-ended question. So of course the answer is always going to be the Islamic way. There's no other answer because this is a masjid after all, house of God, house of Allah, and we being Muslims, end of story. If we could only write a book about the journey of this masjid from Main Street to Main Street, right, you would see the challenges were not any different than King of Persia or in Plano or Richardson or any masjid that goes through infancy. It's a rite of passage of us as a people, as Muslim, and a masjid as a house of Allah as well. And we learn from it. I am so blessed to be seeing this day in 12 years. To my knowledge, there is no groups associated with each Amir. There may be, but I am not aware of that. I dreamed of that thing 2 years ago, 4 years ago, and the reason I stepped away for 4 years, because I was just fed up with that nonsense. Today I can tell you, alhamdulillah, that 2 sisters over there and the brothers over here who are standing up for the first time to be part of the Shura, with the exception of Izzat Bhai, who has run for Shura before, they're new. There is no alignment. Albeit one alignment is there, we're all Muslims, alhamdulillah, and are going to work for the same cause, betterment of this masjid, and work in a strategic manner to grow this business. I also want to tell you, because some of you asked about the Muslims from subcontinent or not from subcontinent. It is so important to understand, it is so important to understand that this masjid, or in front of it says that this is an Indo-Pak masjid. It has never said that. 8 years ago, I was asked that in the small musalla when I was running for masjid. What are you going to do to bring the people who speak Arabic or Farsi or Turkish to bring it to the masjid? And I said then, and I say it now, it's up to them if they want to come to this masjid. This is the house of Allah, and I never stop them, or we will stop them for that matter. It has to become from your own heart, mind, and soul that I want to go to the masjid. The disenfranchisement is through their own self-affliction, not because of what we are doing. We preach in English, alhamdulillah. There are some Urdu halqas as well, and sure there are some Arabic talks as well. We just need to continue to make sure that we preach the message that this masjid belongs to Muslims, independent of geography, color of your skin, or the thought process of 4 imams. Doesn't matter. This belongs to you, right? And that's what I believe in. So yeah, the participation based on the 1800, which is being questioned, it matters not. What matters is if you want to come to the masjid. And us, as a Shura members, it's our responsibility to make sure that we provide the means and a place where the gathering is robust and Islamic in nature, where you can come pray and praise Allah, and then be better Muslims and better people with better hukukul ibad. And that's what matters to me as a leader. Thanks.
Brother, just want to add one more comment to it. The team can be as good as the leader, and the leader can be as good as the team. So the example you gave from, like, there were 2 different groups and stuff, I want to make sure that the community realizes that we will act as one cohesive team. That will be the #1 priority. Now, that means if we need to keep our leader honest, we'll do that. And the leader, for the Shura to keep honest too, we'll do that. Once we act as a cohesive team, that allows us to serve you better instead of infighting or any kind of rubbish that comes out of it. So that should be our #1 priority for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and nothing else, inshallah.
So I'm going to offer just a slightly different perspective, right? So that is that we do have challenges in terms of bringing others in. I've had numerous discussions over the past year and a half. So that's one. But we need some work, and mashallah, I think the team here is here to do that work, inshallah. To your question, Islamic, right? That's the only way to do it. I personally felt resistance, a lot of resistance in the past 24 hours. So there are issues, right? But again, mashallah, the team here is very qualified. I think everybody here, know majority of them, we will be able to take care of that and then bring that needed numbers to this masjid so we can actually grow as one united community, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I have a question to the Shura members. Anyone can answer, sister or brothers. Has anyone put any thought in, over the long term, what steps can we take now to make the masjid more self-sufficient from a financial perspective? Or do you think this is always going to be a perpetual donation-based operation with the expenses? I mean, it's growing, that's great, but expenses, a lot of things, I mean, how do we survive a downturn, an economic downturn, for example?
I think,
Thank
Mudassir, you had some comments for that. You want to take from that?
Assalamu alaikum. I think if just a quick answer to your long-term is, looking at some kind of endowments, setting up down the road, just to make it self-sustained. Again, as we grow the projects, hopefully we can have some shops and retail that can generate some income as well. So those would be the two things. And then just, through the membership drives. So those would be the key points.
Assalamu alaikum. So answer your question, actually we can look at some of the ideas that were presented in the other communities. For example, Plano Masjid has some interest in commercial buildings and stuff across the street. So we can look into that as shops and medical offices to see if we can bring some self-sufficiency to the masjid.
So, alhamdulillah, you mentioned you came from Florida, right? I don't know which part, but there are a few massages in Florida and a few even in a couple of Houston. They have already looked at this many years ago, and majority of these massages, at least the two I'm talking about, they are 80 to 90% self-sufficient, right? In other words, we don't necessarily, in those massages, we don't need a fundraiser for the operational cost, right? So mashallah, that's one model that I've learned a couple of times. I'd like to implement it. Second is that we, again, I earlier mentioned the nonprofit part of it, right? So we get so much leverage being a nonprofit organization that there are many ways to invest into our future growth. We can have scholarships for kids. We can have so much that we can invest, and over time it accrues up without any taxes. That then helps going towards the operational costs, further expansion, scholarship offering, healthcare, things like that. So inshallah, to sum it up, right, there are various ways to make sure that the masjid can be self-sufficient. If not 100%, probably 70, 80%, inshallah.
So here's my perspective, brother. Having worked in nonprofit for the last 16 years and now for-profit environment, I supported senior living communities which were nonprofit and essentially lived off of donations and waqf, if you will, right, of the people who moved into them. There always was some sort of a deficit, It's just a reality of any faith-based organization. It's great, the ideas that you have heard from our brothers and possibly from sisters as well, that the models are out there in Florida and in Houston and now in Plano where they have invested in real estate and are reaping the benefit of it. Even then, it doesn't mean that they're in the black. They are still in the deficit, but the percentage of that deficit is smaller. So that is what we are going to look at, obviously, in a very strategic fashion over the years to come, 2, 4, 6, 8. As you can know, that the shooter lives its life 2 years at a time, kind of like Vin Diesel, 15 minutes at a time for a mile. So there you go.
Just two additional thoughts. So I think maybe to slightly reframe your question, how can we reduce the reliance on donations for sustainability, right? So you can look at it from a couple of different dimensions, but one dimension is that there are different pockets of operating expense within the masjid. Like for instance, my understanding is that the Sunday school is a fairly heavy operating expense. So can you almost like in isolation look at these little entities and make them self-sufficient? Can we think about that, hey, can we at least make the Sunday school a bit self-sufficient or probably even generate a little bit of revenue off of that? And that's one thought. And then the other thought is, which is sort of adding on to what Kashif Bhai said, I think there are going to be 8 members of Shura. There's going to be one Amir. They can all get in a room. They can brainstorm, put some ideas together. But I'm a big believer in that don't try to solve everything within the confines of that room. Go have a conversation with United Way. Go have a conversation with the mega church down the road. They have the exact same issues, right? And some of those organizations have dealt with these issues over the past like 150 years, right? So just pick from them like what they've done. And I completely agree that everyone's going to say that like we're not completely self-reliant, we still have those issues, but you can probably not going to be able to be fully reliant, but you can take some of that pressure down.
I think that's a really great question, and like everyone else said, that's going to be a question that we always are going to have, unfortunately. But I think, one of my visions was to create new and creative ways to fund the continued development of phase 2. I think we can think outside of the box. Just yesterday, and in no ways, this is going to fund the entire project, but we had in Fredda's, a local restaurant, we reached out to them, and yesterday all of their funds, 10% went towards the construction. So, obviously 10% isn't that much, but I think if we work with multiple different businesses and organizations around DFW, maybe we can, have some kind of funds other than just donations. Maybe we can invest in some kind of investment. Perhaps we can, one of the ideas a friend of mine had was open up a coffee shop once the masjid is built. Some kind of shops or, there's a variety of different ways. And like I said before, I might not be in the financial institution, but I know that there's people in the community that are probably qualified to work on that, and maybe we need to empower them and work with them and see how we can, not just be dependent on funds for the entire eternity, but maybe we can create and work with them and see, maybe not if all of the entire, construction project, dependent on them, but we can see if we can have partially some of the funds coming from somewhere else. So I think that definitely that's a good question, and we can work with local businesses, people that are qualified in this area, and try to find creative ways to, fund some of it, inshallah.
And just one point to that, and I'm just...
One second, let me just, sorry, go ahead.
So while we all know there's donations, we run the masjid on the donations, I want to be very clear, it's not a scenario of doom and gloom, okay? So if you've looked at the masjid P&L, we actually have $200,000 odd in net income from this year. And Shura members are here, they could probably confirm that. But the balance sheet actually in the P&L shows on those screens over there, you can confirm that. About 200K odd in net income. So that is, obviously we're in the plus. On the opposite side, if you look at the masjid in Fort Worth, they actually can't move into their new masjid because they don't have the funds to actually move to finish construction. They're actually asking brothers from the community to come help them construct so that they can move in. So alhamdulillah, it's not a scenario of doom and gloom. While benchmarking is awesome, we should benchmark the hell out of this, right? We should benchmark as much as we can. But, and I shouldn't have said that, but you should benchmark as much as you can, but it is still a scenario where we're in a, alhamdulillah, very good position. And I know there's a question over here, and they've been asking for a while.
Let me just finish that up. Last thought. So the recommendations or the plan that I have, right? I'm going to take you guys on a small little journey. Bear with me for a second and think long term. What I mean by that is we need to get out of the mentality of masjid, expenses, donations. Yes, it's there for the short term, or maybe in the next 2-3 years. But what I want to do is what synagogues and what Grace Church and those guys have done, right? Their churches own, I work for Adventist Health System, right? That's a $21 billion cash organization. 1991, 60 people got together, Seventh-day Adventist fellows, got together $10 million, bought a small ER in Kentucky. Today, they own 50 full-service hospitals and 2 or 3 urgent care centers. Cash, right? Why? Because it's owned by a church, just like this masjid, right? Similarly, I want you guys to leave thinking this masjid, in the long run, should own a private equity firm, an incubator for our children's future where they can start their businesses and masjid funds them. Private equity, not just real estate investment, that's low return. So I want you guys to think about a future state where we can be that organization that has 500 million or 100 million invested and getting a return on it. And mashallah, we can sponsor a lot more than just this masjid's expansion with that, inshallah.
Very progressive.
I would like to ask Brother Tamim or Brother Jarjis or Brother Izzat to say a few things. Do you have anything? You're good? Anything? Sisters?
Okay, so, Assalamu alaikum. I will just add to what all the other brothers have answered to this question, and pretty much I agree to it that there should be a commercial kind of plan related to the masjid from where the finances can be handled, but still it might be like 70 to 80%, but still some would be coming from the fundraisers, and the fundraisers can be replaced by some incorporating activities or services in the organization with a similar mission. We can be using a third-party funding, or we can also be developing a business plan, like just brother was talking about that something owned by the masjid. So for that, we have to think broadly, because right now we are still in the process of constructing the masjid. Even if we look for the school fees and making it self-established, we need that school to be built. Inshallah, that would be in the future. And then extending how much we can get used. I mean, it's not only for the Sunday school. We can use that school classrooms for adult classes, for the classes for only women, and these can all be a kind of like Frisco Masjid can have its own Islamic Institute of Frisco, something that is only dedicated for the education, not only for the community of Frisco, but also the other people from the reaching out communities. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. I really appreciate all your intention to serve the community. May Allah accept your intentions, and may Allah succeed you and guide you whoever becomes the members to serve the community. You all come with immense talent, right? You all have probably very successful careers, so you bring a lot of talent in. But then this masjid is in the business of leading every single member of this community towards the right path, towards Jannah. You know the problems we have with families, with youth. We have issues that we need to work on with extending our relationship with other people of faith. So the foremost people that are going to lead us in this is our scholars in this masjid. And you are the enablers. Yes, you have a very important role in keeping the lights on, the walls up, the funds, the membership. But then the main people that are attending our flock are our scholars. And we've had, in past 3 years, two imams being fired from this masjid with devastating impact on this community. We don't want to go into the reasons behind that, but then it is very important that the Shura plays the important role and very delicate balance of keeping the trust of the community, but then enabling the scholars to do their work. And sometimes egos can come in the way, and sometimes other factors, which it's a very delicate balance. So I want to hear from anybody, what are your thoughts in how you'll grow the relationship with the scholars, enable them, and also invest more in getting better scholars or getting our scholars to the next level in terms of interfaith, in terms of modern ways of leading our community. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. You've asked a very important question. So we don't want to get into the history because behind every action, there may be a reason. Because as a community, as a member of the community, obviously a lot of people got affected, as you mentioned. And what we are seeing is one side of things, good things happening. As a shura and then the critical part of the masjid, they may be seeing the other side as well, which may have been leading them to take some action. But how do we make sure that this is get communicated very well to the community so that people can understand is where the transparency come into picture? Inshallah, we'll try to establish that, and whatever the decisions made from the shura will get rightly communicated so that people can understand the reasons behind the decisions. Jazakallah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My dear brothers, in a hadith it comes that the scholars are the inheritors of the Prophet. Scholars are the inheritors of Prophet. Ulama जो है अंबिया के वारिस हैं. So we have to respect them. We have to seek guidance, and we have to These are the people who have invested a lot of time in acquiring knowledge, ilm, going through 8, 10 years of rigorous knowledge. And for every aspect of our, daily affairs or anything, we have to go to them. And we have to take guidance from them. And any issue arrives, we need to mutually sit with them and make sure that there is no drastic step being taken. So inshallah, we'll try to work with the existing scholarship. We have an excellent group, mashallah. And take their guidance and they take their, ideas and visions, which we are seeing, mashallah, our imam and other scholars, mashallah, they are bringing new programs. May Allah bless them and may Allah, guide our community. Jazakallah.
It is a natural tendency for all parents to be worried about the youth. And you quoted that there are issues in the family, and there have been some very negative events which occurred within our community where some youth, when. So, super simplified, the concern for the parents, masjid is the center and the powerhouse of everything good, all khair. The khair that comes into my home and yours actually comes to the masjid, and depending on my relationship, our relationship, this is what comes to our home. And it is the concern for the kids. The first step to do is for the Papa and Mama have no time for deen. Papa has no time for the masjid. And yet they expect their sons and daughters to grow up as waliullah. That ain't gonna happen. It all starts with me first and my devotion and connection with the masjid. And even if the kids will not listen, the time will come when they will listen and have a clear and have a closer affinity to the masjid. So everything here, the masjid azra, the closer we are connected, when we are connected, so will our kids.
Assalamu alaikum. So in respect to this question, I agree, but it's all totally under circumstantial. We don't know behind the story behind why the other imams left, but for the future, with the will of Allah, inshallah, the plan is, or what I think that should be done with imams or the resident scholars is that we should, when it comes to the Islamic education, they are the ones who are educated properly. And we are actually listening to them, and they are the one who are training us, not only the parents, but also the kids. While I agree that the parents should be involved with the, not only the imams in the masjid, I guess parents should be involved in the public schools as well. But for the imams, they should be given upper hand to decide and to plan the education for the kids, both youth and the students that are coming in their adult ages. The shura should just make the way easy for them, that they can easily plan something that is actually going to be helpful, rather than taking that planning in their own hands and just telling them that you have to take these classes. So inshallah, that would give them more confidence and a better position to be more active in the community. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Jazakallahu khairan for stepping up to serve our community. I have a question from all the candidates, with the exception of maybe Brother Saad, since he's in current Shura, is that how many of you are currently involved in different masjid activities or have knowledge of the programs that the masjid currently runs? Because there were a lot of questions and a lot of answers that showed that people might not have any idea what's currently going on. We do have a girls' full-time Hifz program. We have 3 programs for senior ladies at the masjid. We have 4 programs for sisters that are currently happening in weekdays and on the weekends. And we have, mashallah, many social and community service projects that are already going on. I can understand if you talk of improvement. There's always room for improvement. But I would like to know from each of you how you are currently serving and how you think you can improve what is already there.
So I would answer first. So I didn't go to the education part. I just said that the intelligence and knowledge come together to build up that education, and all my ideas about those were, according to the question, what sister said, that what else is going to be given to the ladies who cannot join those programs that are already happening. So the ideas, it was just ideas that I gave them when on the weekends, how we can plan some programs for them is this and this and this. So whatever is happening, I also acknowledge that Safa is going on, but then the kids don't only need to come in the masjid to just learn and just wonder that masjid is just one center where we can just go and start opening books. It should be a place where they can have some other kinds of activities. And I totally, I accept that there are, I come on Sunday school or I come weekends or on the weekdays, the youth girls are doing many other programs. Then the 8th grade is working with me on a social project. I don't say that nothing is happening, but the thing that I answered was that including, in addition to those, there should be some buddy support for all those women because women do need support, and masjid should be that second home for that. Jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum. Can I ask you? Salah.
Saad and I had, we were going to answer the previous question.
No, I think, let me answer the sisters.
Can I, if you don't mind, Khalil Hamza here. So I just want to point out on the Imam, the new Shura, since we're embarking on this new project, I don't think we should touch the subject of Imam or the scholars. They're doing a great job. I think, I noticed personally, like the last 2 months, an increase in the people that come for Salah that we didn't see, and the brothers who come, they can testify to that. Like for Fajr, for Isha, we're noticing an increase, which is, alhamdulillah, it's a blessing. So it seems that, there is rid Allah in this case because there is some kind of sincerity, and Allah sees the heart, and it's working toward that. The second is the issue of the sisters. There is a lot of programs, but sometimes the communication, like the interfaith, I put it in my calendar like 2 weeks ago when I saw it on the website. But if there was some kind of reminder like before, because we are so busy, so we don't know what's going on sometimes. But if of course, if you're efficient, like I was last time, then you won't miss the date. And another thing, the sisters, they're more active than the brothers. And you don't tell us everything. So that's, but it's true. The masjid is doing a great job. I have no complaint. I think, and there is shortcomings, definitely, because they need more help. They really do. So a lot of projects. It's a huge masjid. The growth is amazing, alhamdulillah. So I don't have just positive things to say, yani. But they are tired, I think, because none of them are running for the Shura. So I guess it's very hard work. And if whoever becomes Shura Council, may Allah help them, because it's not an easy task. I've been in that position, and I know it's difficult. It's long nights, sometimes no weekends. I know Brother Adil lost some weight. It's true or not true? He did. So it's very difficult. May Allah bless you. Thank you so much.
So, yeah. So sister, I'm gonna.
So I understand this is a very important question, and everybody would like to hear from the candidates, sisters as well as the brothers. But we only have 5 minutes, and the adhan still has to be called. If you guys want, we can stick around and answer the question after the Asr prayer, if that's okay with everybody. Because 4 p.m. is the Asr time. I don't want to get into the Asr time. So we'll give 10, 12 minutes after Asr, inshallah, max. And because everybody is Saturday, maybe people have other engagements, so we want to just give 10, 12 minutes after the Asr prayer, and we will try to address this very important question, and we'll go from there.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا أشهد أن لا أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
استقيموا واستووا واعتدلوا يرحمنا وإياكم الله. اشرعوا في صلاتكم. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers. Thank you for staying here. There is some session still left with the election commission and they need to complete that. So I would request all of you to stay back. There is a volunteers meeting also, all hands for the fundraiser. It will be delayed by 15 minutes, so please be patient and stay for that meeting as well. Jazakallah khair.
Jazakallah for staying. Okay, some of the candidates had to leave or they are going to leave, so that's fine. But we are going to allow until only 4:20 for whatever is remaining. After that, because they have another meeting to go to, and so we will be just quick in answering their remaining question. So the candidates must give the answer within the 30-second period that they have been given. Yes. Yeah. So that's the only thing. If everyone please have a seat and let's get started. We only have until 4:20. So if we keep ourselves in our conversations, it's just going to not help the timeline at all. We will not extend the timeline. We will finish at 4:20 dot. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to give the mic over to the Shura members to answer the questions that were asked. The question is already out there. If the sister is there who initiated the question, if she wants to repeat the question, we will give her the mic.
Yeah, they can repeat the question.
I would request everyone to please maintain silence, please.
Is this on? Wait, is this, where's the on? On here. No, it's here.
Okay, the sister is going to ask that question again, and I'm going to allow 30 seconds per candidate to answer that question, and that's it. Okay, sister, go ahead, please.
Assalamu alaikum. So my question once again was, how many of the candidates that are currently running have an idea of the programs that are going on in the community right now? And I would like some explanation of when candidates said they would like to introduce a program that already exists. So basically that was the question.
There is a brother that wants to add to the same question, so it will be answered all at once.
Assalamu alaikum. So what my question also almost same. The current Shura is doing very well as per my knowledge and what we are seeing. So in all the areas, expansion or studies or Sunday schools and everywhere they are doing better. So what we were looking from you is in a crispy way of answer, just to say, what is your new idea, what is your new innovation, which currently it's not exist. So if you give the answer in a crispy way, it would be very helpful for understand your thoughts and ideas.
30 seconds each. Who wants to start?
So I'll finish in 30 seconds, inshallah. Yeah, I've been actively involving in the current programs as well as activities. As I said in my speech, we don't need to introduce the new programs as such. Right now, we have to find the gaps. But one of the gaps I found in very poor participation is transportation. There's a lot of homestaying moms and kids doesn't have a transportation. Because of that, they couldn't communicate, they couldn't come into the masjid. So probably we can brainstorm an idea about how do we provide that if possible. As I said, yes, as I said, find the gaps. One of the gaps I found is the transportation. And if we can provide something like that as a community, if that's going to bring more people, that will be awesome as well.
So I'm going to answer this, combine three questions. There was a question before about the scholars and the children and all that, right? So I'm going to link all this together. So sister, the answer to your question is, I'm aware of the entire portfolio, alhamdulillah. I try to help out. You'll see me on and off Sunday school, Ramadan. So I'm aware of the entire portfolio that, mashallah, you guys have built by a lot of hard work and sacrifice. So jazakallah for doing that. Inshallah, we want to continue that and add more to it where feasible. I don't think there is anything lacking right now, but again, improvement is possible, right? So second question and your question, I'm about to link those together. There was a question before you about scholars, children, next generation youth, right? So in terms of scholars, I think, mashallah, we've had very good representation. I'm coming to yours. I'm coming to you. Just 1 second. So in terms of the scholars, we've had very good representation. I don't think we lack any guidance. Going to the first question about children, that is where I keep coming, and that's linking to your question now, is that there's a gap, not in terms of programs. We've had plenty of programs. What we've been seeing across my experience and what I've started from Masala is that there needs to be a proper leadership program where we take our children and teach them different steps, just like they do in synagogue. If you guys want to Google Bar Mitzvah, it'll teach you what they teach by the time anybody's 14 years old. So we want to start things like that where our kids, by the time they're in high school, they understand finance, they understand sales, they understand communication, various things like that, inshallah. And this is a big gap for you.
So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stand behind the brother that's asking, that's answering, and I'll tap on his shoulder. That means his time is up.
Assalamu alaikum. So basically, I'm aware of the programs that we are offering here in the masjid. We offer Sunday school, HIS programs, youth programs. What we can do is we can offer at least some more technology and youth-friendly classes. For example, resume preparation or career guidance, stuff like that. That would be one of my ideas.
Right, so I think, first of all, this was kind of a test question. I think you wanted to make sure that people were aware of the events that are going on. So I can simply say that, yes, I am aware, but I don't think that would be sufficient until I give you examples of the kind of events that are going on. So I know that most of the segments and the cohorts of people is covered. For young girls, you guys have the Muslima event. For kids, you have the Sundays on Fridays event. For young scholars, you have the HIFS event. So there's a couple of different events that are going on that I'm aware of. One piece that I feel is unserved is for adults, a deeper understanding of the Quran and a tafsir event that can be coordinated. Thank you.
The first part of your question was, what are you doing in the current shura? How are you helping? The way I'm helping out is I do help with the collections. For the last couple of years, I've been doing that on and off. And so I've been acting in that capacity and where else they may need help. As far as the programs are concerned, we do have a Sunday program. We need classroom space for that. And right now we are making do with that. HIFS program is all as you mentioned. I think we need to continue those kind of programs.
To answer the question, I am part of the current shura, but I'm not going to go through, what I know of, what I don't. Alhamdulillah, we do encompass a lot of different aspects and different dimensions within the masjid, alhamdulillah. We do have a HIFS program. We do have, great youth programs. In terms of what we're lacking, I think maybe we can do more for people that are suffering with mental health, more like personal issues. This is something that I was trying to do in the current shura, but unfortunately with all of the other things, I wasn't able to. But I'd definitely like to do that and also work on newcomers.
Okay, over to the sisters, please. 30 seconds each, please.
Okay, 30 seconds. Thank you for your question. I consider myself pretty active in the masjid. I do normally what these uncles over here are talking about, those events that they are, sorry. Most of these events that they are referring to, I have personally been a part of, and I believe that we can enhance our events by bettering the quality of communication in between the masjid and our community. All right, that's 30 seconds. I already answered.
Okay, so here's the deal. Thank you very much. I am fully aware of the programmatic stuff that is being put out by this wonderful shura and has been put out for the last 2 years and even before 2 years before. I have been actively and passively engaged, but the last 4 years I took a sabbatical. The first time sabbatical was because I lost by 1 vote, and then I just wanted to see what happens. Because sometimes you just have to step away to grow more, right? And see and observe, and then internalize, and then come back strong, essentially to, with a will to serve and lead, essentially. So there you go. Thank you so much.
Okay, Jazakallah, that's the time that we are allotted. Thank you so much for coming. What I will be doing, again, please watch for your emails. Is everybody okay with extending for like 2 more minutes? Okay. Okay. Okay, so do we have a mic? Do we have a mic there?
It's right.
Okay, go ahead. But 1 question only. That's
Okay.
it.
So this somewhat pertains to the previous question. So throughout the candidate introductions and the Q&A session, we heard a lot about youth engagement. So we currently have a youth director and have recurring youth programs monthly. How do you plan on working with these current programs moving forward while trying to engage the youth more?
30 seconds. Go ahead.
That's a great question. Alhamdulillah, I'm currently involved with the youth. I think one of the main things that we're lacking is not the youth events, although we could keep up with consistency, but I think what we're mainly lacking is empowering them, trusting them in leadership roles. So my vision is that, it's great to have a youth on the Shura, but at the end of the day, if we have a youth in all of the different type of committees that we serve, at least a majority of them, have a representation of a youth in like all of these different committees, then we'll encompass in a variety of different aspects.
So one of the things, the way I said was I lead with 3 Ps: people, process, product, and then profit. The people part comes first. If I have a youth director, he or she will be empowered, authorized, and expected to come up with genuinely new programs and implement them with all of our Shura support, obviously. Engagement comes from you, the kids. Programs are going to be there, but I want to see what you bring to the table as well. So it's a great question. I appreciate it, but the engagement comes from within, and your heart, it's our job to provide with the program.
So basically, first of all, there is a lot of youth programs, right? So there is a youth director. I don't think there is any lacking of activities for youth. My agenda is to bring a grooming program where we take the youth the way it is and look for the future in turning you guys into a fine men by the age of 15, meaning, and women, of course, and women. And so the idea is that you guys are not only participating in programs, you're also learning about the world, investments, business, et cetera, et cetera. By the time you turn 15 or high school, getting to high school, you already know how to act like an adult, responsible adult.
My idea.
Yes, in fact, I would like to take you guys to various city mayors, et cetera, where you guys get real exposure to CEOs, conferences, et cetera, inshallah.
My idea would be to ask the youth, what kind of programs they want. Let them get involved. Let them present their ideas to us and see what benefits them.
As you said, you were already participating in a lot of programs, and then the youth director is offering great support to you. But the thing is, one way I see is YM is successful because you guys own it, and you guys leading it, and there is no adult involved much in the YM programs. That's why it's successful. So I would like to offer an opportunity for youth to come forward or lead some of the programs happening in the masjid, without the adult, maybe with adult supervision but not involvement, so that you guys own it, so that you can feel it. There is an existing group. For example, you guys went for the retreat. You guys arranged it. You guys planned it well. It went very well, I hope. And I don't think any adult closely involved with you. It's all arranged by youth, run by youth, completed by youth, so successful. So similar to that, use that YM and move forward with that.
I think the youth have one problem, major problem, is the budget. Every time you guys want to do something, you have to go to the Shura Council, and there's no budget. I think if the Shura Council assign a certain amount of money for that year, and you know you have that budget, then you'll be more free to, do your project, and you know how much money you have in order to invest in these programs. And that's, I think, one of the major. That's what I heard from some young guys.
I get this.
So I'm actually going to steal from what Kashif Bhai was saying. If I were to give you an opinion on what a good program for you is, that would be wrong, right? Because I don't have the pulse amongst your friends. So we need to enable you guys to make sure that you guys have an understanding of what other people in the youth want, and then you bring that feedback to us, and we make sure that we implement that.
For me, I would at least, I know Sheikh Mubin Kamani, he's the youth director, right? For me, I would at least give him the stake at the table, right? For me, he's done a splendid job. I've seen more and more youth come to the masjid, at least for the external program. I don't know about the Asia. When I'm here for Asia, there's not too many youth here. That's also on our youth to be there. But at the same time, I think Sheikh Kamani has done a splendid job to give him the opportunity to give us those ideas, and because he interacts with you guys the most, and get those ideas on the table would be absolutely something we should start with.
Jazakallah, everybody. I've already checked with them, so they're good. Please keep an eye on your email inbox. I'll be sending out a couple of emails. One will be about voter eligibility, who can vote, who cannot vote, and the other one is about how the ballot papers need to be filled out. And I think there is a need for another email that I need to send out that is about staying within the guidelines and the rules that the Election Commission has prescribed for the upcoming elections. Because one of the brothers indicated that he was given something negative within the last 24 hours, so I want to address that, please. And if you hear anything negative, please do send us an email. Thank you. Jazakallah khair for everybody for participation. Thanks.
Assalamu alaikum. If you are here for the fundraiser volunteer meeting, please assemble in the main hall, both girls and boys. If you are here for the fundraiser volunteer meeting, please arrange in the main hall.
Assalamualaikum. Assalamualaikum. For all hands volunteers meeting, please come forward. We're going to start meeting in 1 minute so we can finish it on time. All hands meetings, please come forward. I request the other community members, if you're not part of the all hands meeting, please go outside and talk to the candidates outside, please. Assalamualaikum. If you're here for the volunteers meeting, please come forward and sit down so we can start the meeting. All of the community members, please go outside and talk to the candidates outside the musalla. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum. All the volunteers, please come and sit down. Volunteers, please come sit down so we can start and stop talking. I will request Brother Tamim, Brother Rehan, and if Brother Shahzad is here, and Sister Zainab to come forward so we can start the meeting. I will request Brother Tamim, Brother Rehan, Sister Zainab, Brother Shahzad to come forward. I will request Brother Rehan to come forward, please. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Can I have your attention, please? Thank you. So, this is the last all-hands meeting. Next week, Saturday morning, inshallah, the leads will be at the convention center at the Embassy Suite so that they can see where their place or what duties they need to perform. So for all hands meeting perspective, this will be the last all hands meeting. Today's agenda is to go team by team, ask the team lead what that they have, number one, all the volunteers. Number two, if they have any questions, and do they understand their responsibilities. After that, they can go in this corner if they want to do a separate meeting with their team, so they can do so. You don't need to sit for the whole meeting. I will call the team, team by team. Leads stand up, team, ask the team to stand up. Make sure you have all your volunteers. If you have any questions for us, ask that question. Quickly tell us what's the status of your team, and if then after that, if you want to go in the corner and meet individually separately, so be it. And after that, you can go. All right? Jazakallah khair. So let's start. Start from A.B. Zahir Paracha Bhai. Do you have your team? Hassan Iqbal, yes. I can. Okay, you're good. All the other volunteers, you have all the volunteers with you? Any questions for us? I will give you a day before, inshallah. Probably same day or day before. Yeah, so that between you and me. Okay, next. Podium coordination, we're good. It's actually myself with Taha Ahmad and Ali Amir. We actually met this morning, so we're good. men's and women's registration, men and women registration, Sister Saba Ilyas and Imad Shamim. Who's the lead? Oh, Humaira Salim is the lead. Sorry. Is she here? Okay. Okay, so we're good all of that. All right. Men's name tag check at the door. Inam Khan. He's not here. Who's the Saad Riazuddin? Saad Riazuddin. Can you give us on your update on your team? Men's name tag. Okay. Do you have all these volunteers confirmed? Okay. Any question for us on that? Okay. Prayer arrangement, Brother Rehan Shah and Rana Riazuddin. Brother Rehan, he was here. We're good? Any questions, anything? I think there was a question asked this morning about the white sheets. White sheets will be provided by the hotel, so we don't have to take us white sheets there. Only thing we probably need to take with us is a janamaz, prayer rug, and that's about it. Everything else will be provided. We will have the chairs over there. Yes. So if we need more chairs, we can arrange chairs. Brother Asfar, where is he? Yeah, take note that we need to. Pledge count table, Saad Siddiqui and Khalid Mubashirin. We're good? Do we have the credit card machines and everything? Okay. And all the volunteers are all good, right? You don't need any more volunteers, anything? Okay. Pledge table distribution and collection, Brother Tanveer, he's out, Brother. Okay. Okay, so any other question, anything? Timing-wise, everything is good? Okay. This is hotel management. I think we can skip that one. Oh, sorry. Main hall ushers, Rehan Shah and Brother Jamil. Brother Jamil just left. They met? Okay. So all good. Hotel management is good. Quran recitation is good. Faraz Sheikh on entry-exit door coordination. Faraz Sheikh. Anybody on this team? Atir Khalid, Ayhab Hassan. Anyone? We need to talk to this team. Which? Are you on this team? Oh, you're on this team? Did you guys meet? Did you guys have a meeting with your lead? Okay, that's the problem. You're part of it, right? Scroll down. Oh, they're on a different team. No, who is on that team? Go back up. Who's on the entry-exit door coordination team? Have you guys had a meeting with your lead? Okay. Faraz is the lead. We'll have to find him. No, yes, there's another one and he's the. So take the note. Faraz. Okay. Yes, yes. Yeah. Okay, next is for skip stage is good. Volunteer food management is good. Crowd control, also the crowd control. Who's part of this team? This is also Faraz Sheikh. You guys not, did you guys meet with Faraz on this? Okay, so this is the other meeting. All right, thank you. Let's go over to the sister side. Greeters, ushers, Sister Zainab, you're all good? All these volunteers are okay? Any questions? Okay. So you're going to have a separate meeting with your team? Okay.
Can you update the names from the 6 sign-up genies?
It says sign up 6 sisters from sign up genius. Oh, okay. You can delete this. Yes. Imran Khan? Iman Khan. No, this is for door coordination. Yes, greeters. Yes. Okay.
Make sure to fix the names because we're going to make a name tags, volunteer name tags.
Yeah, and that is for everybody. Make sure that your name is accurately reflected here on this list because you will get a name tag. Your name is not there? Okay. Okay, it's not correct? Tell him. Let's go back to that list first. We already talked about prayer arrangement, so we're good there. It says 4 youth sisters from Sign Up Genius. I think that's already. Okay, so just delete that, okay? First class sitters, that's babysitting. Yep. Okay. And the names are all good, right? Okay. Mohsin registration, Sister Rafia Shujad. All good. Do you need more people on this? You only. We need the names for them. Okay. Hold on. Go one by one. Main hall ushers and VIPs, Sadaf Haq, Shazia Khan, lead. You're all set? Everybody is all good? Okay. Any question for us? Good? Okay. Appetizer placement, that's Sister Zain. Okay, all the volunteers on this list, please go back and meet Sister Zainab. If your name is on, hold on, go back. Sarina Batla, Sayyida Salman, Nawal Khan, Hiba Khan, Sophia Batla, Umayya Mahmood, Hana Tanveer, Alia Sharfuddin, Hiba Riazuddin, Mishal Qureshi, Huda Mirza, Fida Muhammad, Bahira Muhammad, Zara Siddiqui, Aliza Hassan Hussain, Alaya Ahmad, Sara Sayyid. Yes, separate. All of these people, please go and talk to Sister Zainab. Appetizer placement plus hall setup. Oh, all of them too? Sara Sayyid, Yusuf Sayyid, Adam, Iskwani, Amani, Al-Sharqwi, Fatima Siddiqui, Murtaza Khan, Afshana Arif, Hussain Paracha, Safia Ibrahim, Afreen Basha, Ali Khan, Ali Riazuddin, Amna Mirza, Sunaya Haq, and Anam Haq. please go and meet with Sister Zainab in the back. Okay? Mohsin Rafia Shajad. So you have these two lists. Which one is accurate? Okay, so those are registration and this. Ashar? Okay, so let's make sure that we correct that. This is childcare, the other one ushers. Reciting. Yep. Is it Ali or Ali? Ali, is that okay? Okay, stage design is fine. Silent auction management, Maria Batla, and do you have your team all good? Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay. So I think we're all good. Anybody whose name has not been called? Yes, please have a meeting and I'll come and help you. Yes. Atir Khalid, Ihab Hassan, Halil Anwar, Kansul Muhammad, Shahul Sharfuddin, Usman Yusuf, Noman Farooq, Adam Bel Haj Qasim, Kabir Bash. Okay, so we'll meet separately on the back, okay? Anybody else whose name has not been called? Sorry? 4? You guys are covered, right? You know. To who? Who's your team lead? Inam uncle. So you haven't met with the. Sister Sabah, can you come forward, please? Sister Sabah. Sister Sabah, can you come here, please? The sister is asking who's the childcare lead. Oh. So this. Yes. We just wanted to connect those two. All right. Anybody else whose name has not been called or is not on the list? Okay. Card distribution? Okay, hold on.
Where you are lead? Where is the childcare ushers? This one?
You know what? I don't see him on there. I know Zana put him on there somewhere.
Is it childcare?
Yeah, there, right there.
Here.
The Alina no, on the 12. Alina number 12. She wants to add her last name, Aziz. A-Z-I-Z.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is this the childcare team?
This is the general one. Mohsin Childcare में एक और
We can put a heading on that. This is a childcare.
Childcare. Isn't it? It says childcare.
You want this is what childcare
No,
special.
no, this is registration.
Registration.
Go back up.
He doesn't
Tamim.
have channel to.
Tamim, go back up.
You were not telling her that?
Tell her that.
You are fine, whatever I
No,
said.
I understood.
क्या बात है? Okay, insert rows and then the other name is Zuhair Sufi.
Zuhair.
O-O-O-O.
Okay.
O-Z-O-H-A-I-R and Sufi S-O-O-F-I. Yep.
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمد رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
الله استقيموا واستووا واعتدلوا يرحمنا وإياكم الله. اشرعوا في صلاتكم صلوا صلاة ودع. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.